The article I chose to do this week for my current event was an article about an African American doctor who was loading his truck with supplies to go test the homeless for the coronavirus. And as he was loading his truck, a police officer drove by him and went to the end of the street and turned around and stopped in front of his house and told him that neighbors were complaining that there was trash in front of his house and that it was a trash violation. And words was exchanged between the doctor and the officer, and that led to the officer handcuffing the doctor. And he handcuffed the doctor in front of the house. The doctor let the police officer know that he lived there and that what he was going to do. And the officer was still being aggressive and rude to the doctor until the doctor's wife ran inside to get an ID to show the police officer, and that's when he unhandcuffed the doctor and left without an apology or nothing. He just left the scene. The importance of this article to me is that even today, every day you see racial profiling. I was a victim of racial profiling. A lot of African Americans have been victims of racial profiling. So it's an issue that African Americans still have to face today. It's also important because these racial profiling, and when the cops do racial profile as African Americans, they lead to arrest, it leads to sometimes death, and it just causes issues among the African American community. This article relates to our class because we just recently finished watching the Khalif Brother story, and in that story, Khalif, who was a 16-year-old boy at the time, was racial profiled because he was black, and he was taken into custody without any evidence, and he was held in prison for 3 years, 2 years in solitary confinement, and after he left prison, he couldn't adapt to society, so he ended up killing himself. And because he was racial profiled in the beginning, it led to all these problems down the line, which eventually led to him taking his life. We also talk about certain social controls that are in place to control a race, and in this instance, the traffic violation, that was a social control to cause problems among this black doctor.